Sound check. Say hello in the comments, guys. We'll start in a few minutes. Let me know how you guys are. And you can see down here the details on how to join the raffle. So of course, anyone who is part of the contest and anyone who is watching tonight, even if you did not submit an entry for the contest, you can join. I'll tone down the music later. So how to join the raffle? Number 1, share this stream on Facebook. Number 2, invite your friends to watch. You can tag them, you can mention them if you want, and tell them that they can also win this prize. And of course, I need to be able to track that. So be sure to use the hashtag #NVCityscapes. And of course, the winner has to be watching during the draw, and the winner has to comment when we do the draw. So let me know how you guys are. Feeling ko kahit nasa YouTube tayo, pwede naman tayo mag-Tagalog kasi konti lang naman, or I don't think may manonood naman ito from the international audience. So let me know how you guys are. It's been a crazy week, I think, for most of us. And to be honest, I've been very slow in putting this together. I know I was checking the entries earlier, and I ended the submissions April 2, and it's already April 24. And I realized it's the perfect time to be doing this because it's been a crazy week for all of us. All the politics, all the whatever, I'm sure has been getting in your heads. And for me, the same as well. I did try to get someone to co-host this for me, but bumibebe time yung kaibigan ko. So, hulaan nyo na lang kung sino yun, pero bumibebe time. I'm glad you love the background music. I was planning this out earlier, and I was trying to put together something. I wanted a new loop music for the stream since this is my first time going live na scheduled on YouTube, and I was trying to put together something, but this is the only song that's been in my head for the past few days. So might as well create my own instrumental version. Alright, good evening to J. Mendiola. Good evening, Jan Angelo Faustine Rosales. Talagang si Angelo pag live stream full name yung lumalabas, no? Parang, tapos yung profile picture pa niya parang 2x2 ID picture. So parang medyo nag-a-apply ng trabaho. Ryan is watching. You know, I've always been curious because you don't have a last name on your YouTube profile. Is this Ryan Bukayu, if I'm not mistaken, or is this someone else? Christian Kyle Tobise. Good evening, good evening. I'm glad you love the music. Ranel Gango, magandang gabi. Congrats sa winner. I think hindi ko alam kung sino mas may excite, yung winner ng tripod or yung winner ng tablet. Let me know, alin ang mas exciting para sa inyo? Jan Angelo Faustine Rosales is saying, feeling good and happy, especially that sports are coming back. Guys, if you haven't, follow Angelo on Instagram and all that. He's doing some amazing work for sports. He's shooting for some private leagues na din, and UAAP for his school as well. My wife is watching. Good evening. Ayan, tama, si Ryan Bukayo. Nice to see you again on this stream. Yeah, so again guys, for you to be able to join the raffle tonight, all you have to do is share this stream on Facebook and invite your friends. You can tag them, you can mention them, you can tell them what's at stake, and of course use the hashtag #NVCityscapes. And of course, whoever wins has to be watching, or it will be redrawn and redrawn and redrawn. So before I do start, I'm gonna check if there are already entries for the raffle, because the posts will be your raffle entry. So I'm only seeing 3 right now. Yeah. Well, obviously, I'm a bit daring tonight. Again, this is the first time I scheduled a live stream on Facebook and on YouTube. I've been doing live streams on Facebook. Medyo madali na in terms of Facebook, medyo gamay ko na. And the challenge with YouTube is, of course, this is a whole nother ecosystem from Meta or Facebook, which means that Facebook is not gonna like the fact that we're sharing YouTube content instead of a Facebook live video. So I really do need your help, guys, in terms of sharing this stream. And of course, this is going to translate into views and watch hours and all that. So just to be ultra transparent, of course. This is, of course, obviously I'm trying to grow a YouTube channel, and the reason why I'm able to do giveaways like these, I think I'm a bit generous today, diba? The reason why is, of course, sponsors come in also to support the channel, but they have to see the results. So if you want more, syempre silent ko yung phone ko, diba? So if you want more giveaways like these, if you want grabe, may nag-message sa akin, nagtatanong ng mechanics. Nakalagay na po dyan. If you want more giveaways like these, you want more prizes for me to be able to do these things. Dahil ako din po ay isang hamak na mamamayang Pilipino lang din at nagbabayad ng buwis at hindi jumejebs ng pera. So, for me to be able to do more giveaways like these, we need to show the sponsors the numbers. I think that is the most transparent I can get in terms of telling you guys how these things happen. So, yeah. There were a total of... Di daw makita. Okay, lakihan natin. Lalakihan ko para sa inyo for just a bit. Ayan. Number 1, share the stream on your Facebook. Make sure the post is public, by the way. Invite your friends to watch so you can tag them. You can, of course, tell them that there's a raffle. And, of course, use the hashtag #NVCityscapes. We want to be able to track your entries because later on I'm gonna manually input them, and I need to see your post later on Facebook to be able for your entry to count. Okay, and of course the winner has to be watching at the time that I draw the winner. Okay, so I'm gonna announce the name. You're gonna have to comment to show us that you're watching within 2 minutes, and if you're not watching it or if you're not able to comment within 2 minutes, we will draw another winner. Para fair, right? Yun, and of course the prize is this. It's the HUION H610X, and if you guys are reading my F-Stoppers articles, this is one of the things that I reviewed very recently. It's a really nice tablet, actually. It's a really nice graphic tablet. It's going to be ultra helpful in your editing, no matter what kind of editing you're doing. There we go. Okay, let me check. Okay, I need to silent my phone kasi may mga nagme-message. Alright, we'll start in just a tad bit, guys. And sige, okay. Ranel Gango says yung tablet. Actually, medyo parang mas exciting. Well, I know a lot of you guys already have tripods and filters and all that. Angelo says maganda ata yung tablet. pagpirma ng schoolworks. Okay, sige. Sige. Alright. And now I will turn down the music. I think that's quiet enough. Okay. One last thing before I start the critique. I guess it's very important to tell everyone this nowadays. That again, the past few weeks have been crazy. Social media has been getting intolerable, literally intolerable. And Trisha Ann Goomba says, tuning in, finally something to make this evening less stressful. I'm glad this relieves your stress, even just for a bit. Ako yung nasa stress kasi medyo nakakalito magpatakbo ng live stream. But yeah, I'm pretty sure everyone of us, most of us, have been ultra stressed for the past couple of weeks. And I don't think that stress is coming away until early May. I don't want to bring in too much politics into the stream, but I do want to take the time to share just a bit. You know my stand. I think by the background music alone, you know my stand. And I think the only thing I want to tell everyone for now is let's remember to be kind. Nakakalungkot that we're all... I do believe that all of us are aiming for a better world, for a better country. And if we do have any international people watching the stream, the elections are coming up in the Philippines and things are going crazy. But yeah, we all want progress. We all want development. We all want to be able to help the poor. We all want to have, just a bit more comfortable lives. And it's not gonna happen by spreading hate. And I do hope that none of us are trying to make that happen by spreading lies. For the next couple of weeks, let's all be part in making sure that how we conduct ourselves is not spreading hate and is not spreading lies. And I think if all of us just do our part in doing something like that, in making sure that that's how we live the next few weeks, we can do so much good and we can lessen the hate and the pain for a lot of people. Yun lang. Just a segue before I start. Okay. Tito Rames Vasquez, good evening. Good to see you watching tonight. I think I have one of your entries for the critique. Okay, so this is how we're gonna go and do it. There were a total of basically 80 plus entries that were sent in via comments. And I selected my top 17. Bakit 17? Hindi ko din alam. I just selected the ones I like and the ones wherein I see a lot of potential. And I'm gonna go through the first 14, not in any specific order, but instead just gonna go through them one by one. And we have to lay down some ground rules or basically the criteria. I'm not looking for photos that are perfect because I don't think any of us have perfect photos. But I do want to call out some amazing work, and I do want to show photos that have a lot of potential, and probably just try and give you some suggestions into what you can do. Of course, ang masaya sa mga ganitong critique, the reason why I wanted to do this live is because I know most of you guys. I know most of those who are watching. I know most of those who are submitting entries. And you know, it's fun because yung iba nga dito kilala ko na yung photo even before I start selecting. But of course, this is all, I'm not gonna say it's objective. It's subjective because it's based on my preferences. But the main goal here is to really show everyone's, show the better work, the better photos, and just try and see what else is good, what else can be done to improve the photos. All right. And let's just remind everyone of the rules of how I did this. Number one, I said that photographers in the Philippines, currently in the Philippines, are qualified to join this. Why? Because I would not be able to ship the prizes so far away. And that was basically it. Of course, the submission dates and time, so all that. So what you're gonna see are the ones that were screened to make it to the top 17. Okay. All right. So these are some of the top photos, and again, no particular order. And I realized that I should have, at the very least, asked for higher resolution photos. But there's already so much we can see from the low res photos. For the top 3, I was actually able to ask for the high resolution photos, so you're going to be able to see a bit more detail in the photos that they have. Okay. First photo from Patrick Manalotto. You know what? I've always been... This is the kind of shot, and this is of course taken by Jones Bridge right here on the side, and of course the Pasig River. And this is this is the shot that I've never done, even though, if I'm not mistaken, I ran into Patrick on that day that he was shooting this. We were also there. Very vivid because that was the first time I was shooting with my Sony camera, because I just shifted to Sony during that time. So it was the first time I brought out my Sony camera when I got it. If I'm not mistaken, around January of 2020. And I remember seeing him shooting because he said hi. Tama ba? Tama. I think so. Patrick, if you're watching, confirm or deny if you were. I think that was you. Okay. This shot, of course, the most attractive part of this shot is the reflection and the leading lines that the bridge is making. And it does really create quite a bit of impact because of those two things. Plus, I really like the colors, of course. I really like the colors here. I think this was shot at the perfect time to be doing this shoot. However, I'm not too certain if this is the best angle to be doing this shot. Why? Because we're seeing the post office from the side. So I think you can see my mouse. Yeah, we're seeing the post office from the side here. And we're seeing Jones Bridge. Nakatakip. And we're seeing Jones Bridge also from the side. And both of them are coming from skewed angles. So you're not seeing the best of the post office, and you're not seeing enough of Jones Bridge because it's too ano matawag doon? It's too skewed. It's not, you don't even see the separation of the lights when you get to the other parts. That is why, again, it's a very impactful image to begin with. But if we tear it down to the composition, I'm not too sure, because I'm sure that Jones Bridge looked awesome that night, because again, I think I was there also. But more than that, Jones Bridge would have had really nice reflections if shot from the left even more. And I believe that night I focused on the post office as well, so it would have had, you can already see the potential of the symmetry and of the reflection. So you know that the reflection of the bridge would have been amazing. The colors are perfect, and I think that if this was done with more emphasis on the perspective, I think you can also do a panorama, maybe, to be able to capture both the post office and Jones Bridge in one frame, but you're not coming from this corner right by Jones Bridge. So there. But again, solid work already. Just my suggestions, of course. Okay, next, this is from Aldrin. I'm a sucker for compositions like these. I really love compositions wherein you don't have to think so much. You don't have to analyze the composition so much. I do believe that when we're viewing photos like these, we're looking for the satisfaction. This is one of the things that I teach dun sa workshop ko, the Creative Vision Clinic. When we're viewing photos, we're looking for the satisfaction of just the composition making sense. Let me know if that makes sense to you. But there is that one theory that as viewers, we look for a perfect pattern, or just, a perfect experience in seeing the photos. And this one, well, there's a lot that we can do still to be able to improve this shot. The general composition, the general framing for me already works. So I really like that. Now, first thing I would do is, of course, I would shoot this in long exposure. Let's see if editing on Lightroom can actually try and simulate that. So imagine if we shoot in long exposure and we take out the texture of the water. Hindi siya ganon. But imagine if the water is actually so smooth that you would be able to have more emphasis on the cityscape, because these textures, while not too rough, not too sharp, it's taking away the attention from this, which is a really nice, it's like a graph that's going down. It's taking away the attention. So imagine if this was done with maybe a 2-minute exposure. This would have been solid. You can do this in black and white. You can do this in color. You can fix the colors. It's up to you. I think also if you shoot long exposure, of course, you're also going to be able to make this smoother. So it's going to be more minimal. But the composition already works for me. The framing already works for me. What did I press there? The framing already works for me. It's not the perfect rule of thirds, but it just fits. There's a flow right here na halos Fibonacci na yung dating. So you can probably do that, up to you. But yeah, just just a bit more editing, and of course the shooting part, we can't go back to that. I don't even know where this is. Aldrin, if you're watching tonight, let us know in the comments where this was shot. Okay, next photo. This is going to be side by side with the next image. And if I'm not mistaken, this has been submitted for my critique more than once already. This photo is from Albert Ranyada, and this is a unique view of Makati. But of course, I do think there's medyo may conflict eh. I don't know if you guys agree with me, but there's a bit of conflict. I feel a bit of conflict here, because we have these curves that would have actually created a nice leading line here, which is being covered by the rail. And obviously, my biggest issue with this shot is the rail. Number one, it cuts off the visual path, and number two, it's just really off center. So, well, we know that this was in Makati, and it would have been hard to put up a clamp or a tripod maybe, but he was able to do a long exposure shot, so I don't know if it could have been done. But again, maybe a square crop would already do so much. At least you're taking out the obstruction. But I think if you're able to move past that obstruction, maybe put a clamp there or a tripod with a horizontal column, you'd be able to get the end of this leading line and actually have it as a leading line. Of course, also with the movement of the cars. Now, of course, it would also be better if you're able to get more movement of the cars right here, because the traffic lights here aren't all too dynamic, aren't as dynamic as I would want them to be. And the next photo is related, and I really wanted to have them side by side, because this one actually shows the resolution of the leading line. We have the curve here, a very nice curve that leads up to the center of the image. And it brings you to this part. And this shot, though, was shot with a smartphone, so not too much, and I wouldn't say too much on the editing part because this was shot on a smartphone, but maybe you guys can see already the details comparing to this one, which was shot with a mirrorless camera. There's a whole lot more we can do with a bigger camera. So there, this photo is from Jun Famu Jr. Alright. Next image is from Hktan, and this, I think this vantage point is familiar to many of us. I believe that around 2016 or 2017, we would bring so many friends to this location. So, okay, so if you're familiar, this was taken, I don't even have to ask the photographer. This was taken at City Garden Hotel. Okay? City Garden Hotel. And I do appreciate the focus on the sunset here. That the cityscape, the thicker part of the cityscape was actually used as a leading line. Now, my problem there is just like the Jones Bridge shot that we had earlier. just like the Jones Bridge shot. This one does not have as much depth as we would want. Okay? And number two, this building, which I believe is SM Jazz or Jazz Residences, is just ending that leading line. So, of course, you can't tell the building to or you can't tell SM to take down that building for your shot. The colors are really nice. The sunset is really dynamic. This was taken at the perfect time. I would need to be able to see the higher resolution version to be able to give more information or more tips for this. But perhaps my biggest tip for this particular shot is to move to the next building. Why? The next building is City Garden Grand Hotel. Okay? City Garden Grand Hotel also has a roof deck restaurant. They also have a really nice buffet. I'm not sure if they're open already because that is the hotel involved in that controversial case wherein the flight attendant died, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure if they're open already, but if they are, then you can go there, you can have dinner there, and you will be able to get a longer patch of this cityscape. And you'd also be able to capture Makati Avenue if you wanted light trails. I've shot there, if I'm not mistaken, around 8 times already. And it's just the go-to place for practicing cityscapes. They allow photographers, they allow tripods, but of course order dinner at the very least, and enjoy the food because the food is really good as well. There, really, the biggest tip I can give for this photo is to move to the next building because I think you already also paid for dinner at that place. Jordan Cruz, present, kakatapos ng magligpit ng dinner. Nice to see you. And JC, I'm not sure which JC this one is. Good evening to you. Before anything else, before we move on, guys, there is a raffle. There is a raffle happening at the end of this stream. And for you to be able to join that, number one, you need to share this stream on Facebook. I believe there's a share button on your YouTube app. Invite your friends to watch and join the raffle as well. You can tag them, you can tell them what we're raffling off tonight, and use the hashtag NVCityscapes for me to be able to track your entries. Your posts will of course serve as your entries for the raffle, and you have to be watching and be able to comment at the time when I draw the raffle and I announce the winner. If you're not able to comment within 2 minutes, then I have to pick another winner. Okay? Okay, next. Okay, this photo is from Renzi Katipon, and medyo bibigyan natin ng context yung shot. So this is, if you've been to any Metroscapes or any Sony events recently, or what else, other events before for Cityscapes, you would know where this was taken. So Renzi is actually a good friend from DMCI Homes, from the marketing department of DMCI Homes. So you can probably already tell why he has access to such a nice vantage point. Just for those who are watching and are not familiar, of course, DMCI Homes have been good friends for many photographers. I think some of you have already joined us at their roof decks. So DMCI Homes sells condos, and all their properties, or not all, maybe almost all of their properties, have roof decks with really nice views. And a lot of the photos that I take of the cityscapes in Metro Manila are from their properties. Now, For the critique for Renzi, I would tell you the same tip. Since you have access, I would have wanted you to move to Sheridan. Right here. Tama ba? This is Sheridan. So that you have an unobstructed view of the Guadalupe Bridge. And of course, there's actually so much you can do from this location. You have a view of BGC, you have a view of EDSA, of Makati, and of the bridge. And the problem is, and I do know that you're very passionate about these buildings here, of course. The problem is that the buildings, the DMCI buildings, are actually covering the huge chunk of the nice view. So it's just a matter of really composing it better. And in terms of that, your best bet is moving to the next building. I would also, I think you already know this, it's better to shoot this a bit earlier so that your sky is not black like this. Not entirely black, but not this dark. At the same time, the lights from all these buildings, especially the annoying LED billboards here, are not overpowering because they can get a bit distracting. Alright. Next image. From the Raymond Paul Vasquez. Hey, Tito Rames. Unintentionally side by side with a shot of Renzi. This is what he would have gotten if he moved to that building in front, which is Sheridan. One of the favorite compositions there, over at that location, is of course this, because you have the bridge, you have that nice contextual contrast. When I say contextual, meaning the context or the content of the visual element compared to another. You have that nice contextual contrast between the small structures here, the small houses here, and the towers of Rockwell and of Makati and another DMCI property, which is Brio Tower. It gives you better scale. It somehow tells you more about the place, because you can compare the small structures to the big structures, and it emphasizes the structures here. Of course, what I really like about this photo is the sky, because this, I don't know if this was as is or nag-streak yung clouds or anything, but whatever happened here, it is very much effective. If this was actually as is, then I would have done a longer exposure just to be able to smoothen out these parts. We all like that texture when it comes to the sky, but we don't want too much texture, because again, this is serving as negative space and it is complementing, of course, the cityscape. Now, last thing I would have done is I would have kept the tripod on the same spot, on the same composition, and shot another photo later on when there are more lights on these buildings, and I would have blended that in just so it looks more alive, because the city does look a bit asleep because of the scarcity of city lights over in this area. And if you're gonna do that, then also what another thing you can do is have another exposure wherein these highlights are not that overpowering, because they're serving as distractions. So there, but again, solid composition. Just a few things that in my opinion could improve. Okay, another shot from Patrick Manalotto. And I'm noticing a pattern in his photos. His work when it comes to colors are on point. I'm very much okay with the colors that he has, and the composition. This photo actually I chose this because of just a tiny bit of adjustment I want to do in terms of composition. He may or may not agree with this one, but okay. Let me show you a point wherein I choose compositional techniques. Of course, some of the most common compositional techniques that we follow are rule of thirds, golden ratio, symmetry, and all that. And this was executed perfectly in rule of thirds. Okay? And I had a bit of an inkling when I saw that. It does work. It's able to give emphasis to that tower in the back. However, my hindi naman problem, but what I would rather see in this shot is not too much headroom, because the headroom here is actually, it's just giving too much space. Wala kasing masyado nagbibigay ng context, so it does look like extra negative space. One reason for me to choose golden ratio over rule of thirds is this. Rule of thirds works better if there's also something on this part, right? And of course that's empty. If you want, you can maybe blend in half moon or whatever, and it's gonna work. But for compositions like these wherein there's nothing on the other side, I actually prefer the golden ratio. And what I would do is crop that down like that, decrease the headroom. Now why? Because there's the empty space here is actually lessened, and at the same time you give more chances for this secondary visual element in the back to complement this tower here. Again, I don't know where this was taken, but it's a really nice photo to begin with. That is the only thing I would touch when it comes to this image. Oliver Barceliano, travel photography. Good evening. Okay, if you just joined us, we have a raffle. The details are down here. Okay, this comes from Macaulay Comets Jr. I don't know if that's his real name. One of the few people I don't personally know who submitted. So if you're watching, thank you for watching. Thank you for joining and submitting. I really like how this was shot. I believe this was in Macau. And I love the fact that the sky is blue, and at the same time it's giving some really nice complementing tones to the warm lights that we have on this part. The tendency for photographers who aren't thinking so much about composition is to juxtapose everything. Maybe a few steps from where he was standing, 2 steps forwards, 2 steps back, he would get some of the visual elements here overlapping. And I really appreciate the fact that he was able to give separation to each one of them. I would shoot this. I can just see that there are still some ripples in the water, so maybe a longer exposure. And of course, in terms of editing, we don't wanna overdue. So I think this was a tad bit over sharpened. So just tone down a bit on your sharpening or on your clarity. But nonetheless, it's a really good image. Okay. One of the shots on the comment section on the submission thread that would really wow people. And of course, this is coming from Carl Davin Hui. I've met this guy. I'm still not 100% sure about the pronunciation of your last name, but Carl, if you're watching, good evening. And okay, this is a really nice panorama of Rockwell, almost the entirety of Rockwell, and the visual impact is there. Although I would probably shoot this just a few minutes later, just so the sunset is not blown out like this one, and at the same time there's more contrast. You can imagine if there's more contrast on the buildings here, because of course this was shot, if I'm not mistaken, during the holidays. If we get the buildings right here, if we get it darker, just a bit darker, siguro mga 5 or 10 minutes later, you have a really nice sunset here. No matter how much that's in the periphery, it's okay. But also more contrast here. And another problem that I have with the composition is that this side is too cramped up. I don't see the end of this building, and I'm pretty sure it's still Rockwell because there are still lights on the building. And now there is space here. So I kind of just want to turn your composition a bit towards the right, just a bit, so that you can cut it off here and maybe give a bit more room to capture the end of there. But again, I haven't been to this particular vantage point. I'm not familiar if there are any obstructions, but that's what the composition is telling me, that's what my eyes are asking for in viewing this image. I want to see what else is there. I want to see the end of the complex. Okay, we have a question. Guys, by the way, you can ask questions. The reason for this critique, aside from giving away some shit, is so that we can share knowledge. And if you also have tips, then you can probably also give them in the comments. Okay, question from Jordan Cruz. When it comes to the settings, aperture, exposure, etc., are there any differences between cityscapes and landscapes? Again, of course, it's a case-to-case basis, but the mindset is pretty much the same. What do I mean by that? We don't want too much noise, so we want to minimize ISO. Set your limits. I barely ever go beyond 400. We want more detail, so we want to get the sweet spot of your lens. That could be from f11, f16, f8, depending on the lens that you're using. But you definitely don't want to be using apertures like f4 or f1.8, of course, except when you're shooting at night and you're shooting the Milky Way, which you already know of. And shutter speed is the most flexible in terms of the settings, because shutter speed you can extend to be able to get more light and also to be able to get some long exposure patterns, such as the trails here. John Demir is asking, ano mas better, stitched or panorama? Those are the... What do you mean stitched or panorama? Because panoramas are stitched. But I love the questions, guys. Keep asking your questions. Okay. Again, really good shot, Carl. Those are just my 2 cents about the photo. So, dahil nagtanong si Jordan Cruz, next photo is coming from Jordan Cruz. If I'm not mistaken, this was taken from Brio. Sabi sa inyo talaga, yung mga nanonood dito, mga nakasama ko na mag-shoot or nakaakit na sa DMCI or what. This was taken from Brio. I have done a similar shot. And this isn't your hero shot when you're at Brio. Because Brio has this view, it has a view of Rockwell, it has a view of BGC, and it has a view of Ayala Avenue in the back. So there's actually so much you can do from that condo. Wala po akong commission sa DMCI, but if you want to get a condo with nasulit yung roof deck, Brio is one of the best choices. Okay. Now, I love the tones of this shot. I think most of us who've been to that vantage point have been attracted to how the light hits these buildings. However, there's just too much clutter around. I don't know if you've seen how I did this, but I shot it with a telephoto that basically pretty much looked like this, something like that, just to get the verticals there, just to get the tones. And I think when I did that shot, I'm sure hindi kita kasama nun, Jordan eh. But when I did that shot, mas intense yung light coming from the sunset. So there were actually shadows of these buildings hitting the shadows of the buildings on towards the back. And it just creates a very pleasing and satisfying composition because of all the verticals. So, number one, I would have wanted you to zoom in because nakaka-distract kung sino man yung mga nasa billboards na yan. It would have been nice because we have Guadalupe Bridge, but we're also getting it from a weird angle. So, diba? It would also work if you just crop these out, but hindi ko alam if it's just me nitpicking, but I'm sure you guys would have already seen that when I shoot cityscapes or when I edit my cityscapes, I take out the cranes. And even here on Lightroom, you can do that. But it's a more precise process when you do it on Photoshop. So I want to be able to take these out, take those out, take this out, take these out. Because they're ruining the verticals eh. Yun yung problema yung mga crane kasi medyo diagonal sila and hindi pa strong diagonals. So that's why nasisira nila yung satisfying verticals of the shot. Okay, next photo from Tana. Ito yung mga submission na ayoko na lang i-critique because it's already a really good shot. And of course, Tana is a good friend. This was taken in Dubai. And perhaps the only thing I can say about this shot is I really love the light trails coming from the boats. However, with this cut, I think it's a bit overpowering. It's a bit overpowering because of, the trails just get way too big in the foreground. So probably I would better appreciate it more if this was shot just maybe 2 or 3, depending on the speed of the boats, maybe 2 or 3 seconds later, if the boats were moving further away, because it's gonna make more trails here and just continue with the leading lines. Again, already a good shot, just how I think it can be improved. Okay, next from John Demir Salazar. Unfortunately, the file size is way too small for me to be able to do some demos here. But okay, classic BGC coming from Ortiga's composition. This is the photo that I will select over and over for critiques like these, to be able to illustrate to you guys the importance of timing. Of course, when it comes to landscape and cityscapes, we don't have that decisive moment, but there is that brief period during your shoot wherein the light is perfect. So obviously I would have wanted this shot to be taken just a bit earlier, maybe 10 minutes earlier. We would already see the blue sky. The shadows on this part would not be too dark. It would not be clipping like how it is here. And at the same time, ito yung tricky dito sa face ng BGC na to eh. There's just way too many lights coming in. And actually, if you're unlucky, you would also get the billboards from Uptown BGC. And that is going to overpower your shot. As you can see, all these highlights, these are forgivable kapag konti lang siya eh. Pero kapag ganyan yung mga highlights na nag-overpower na, it's taking away the beauty of the composition. I think you made an effort to really have that center, but it doesn't look symmetrical. Why? Because there's more visual weight on this side simply because there are more bright lights on this side. Okay, so it is symmetrical, but also it's not. So, and the only way you can be able to manage that visual weight is to shoot a bit earlier. And that makes a world of difference. Okay, next. Question again from Jordan. Do you use filters in cases like these to cut off some of the lights? No. I think you're pertaining to the shot of John Denry. No more filters in this situation because there's nothing moving. It's not gonna be able, if you use an ND filter, it's gonna cut down all the lights. So all it's gonna do is make you shoot longer exposures wherein there's nothing moving in the scene, so there's no point in doing a longer exposure. Your problem is the fact that the really bright lights from the city are way too bright compared to the shadows on this part and also of the sky. We don't have too much sky here, so there's no point also in using a GND na upside down. Generally, the only way to be able to manage that issue, well, of course, you can probably do that in editing if your camera has that much dynamic range. But if not, if you're not able to really tone down the highlights without ruining the information in the highlights, then the only thing you can do is shoot earlier. Okay. This shot is from Manny C. Okay. Taken from Torre de Manila, which is another DMCI property. It's really impactful. But again, one of those instances wherein I wish you shot this earlier. Because the greens of this area, which I believe is Intramuros, and this park right here, na hindi ko alam yung pangalan, they actually have really nice textures. And having the city lights or the traffic trails here overpowers them. You don't have detail here. It's almost clipping actually, because I know you want to be able to show the colors of the lights. Shoot earlier, because the contrast between these dark patches and the trails is actually taking away some attention from that nice visual element there, which is of course the Binondo Arch. If you shot this a bit earlier, you would have some texture in the trees. And to answer again Jordan's question, this one I would use an ND filter, because I would want, yun yung problem with the traffic here. Sobrang random nung lines na ginagawa nila. But if you actually use an ND filter to shoot longer, I'm not sure with the traffic here, but maybe 3 minutes or 4 minutes, you would be able to get smoother lines and more just finer patterns when it comes to the traffic trails. So there, shoot earlier, then longer exposures. You can use an ND8 filter, you would be good. Okay, before I move on to the top 3, let's remind everyone how you can join to the raffle. Okay, so you can join the raffle. Of course, you can see that on the lower part. You can share this stream on Facebook. Make sure your post is public. Invite your friends to watch and use the hashtag #NVCityscapes. I'm gonna check right now for the entries just to see if I'm seeing a lot of entries, because later on I am going to have to manually type these into the randomizer. I'm seeing 5, so this is going to be an interesting night. Tama ba? 5 lang. Make sure your posts are public, guys. Okay, let me go to the top 3. I think you already know why this is in the top 3. This image is solid in terms of capturing. Now, I was able to ask for a higher resolution version of the shot, but I wasn't able to ask the photographer, Jesse Tianko, if this was a single exposure or a blended image or a stacked image. But nonetheless, there's so much impact here because of the 3 lightning strikes. And these strikes are really good at that. Visual impact, I'd give this 9/10, because again, shooting lightning is a tough task. It requires a lot of patience. At the same time, you'd have to be safe while also being at risk. How would I improve this shot? Single shot daw. Okay. Wow, okay. Single shot. Since we have, ayun pala, kita pala. 2 seconds. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that, because you gave that information, I can also give you a bit more in terms of how you can improve it. Tama ba to? This is f1.0. Did you use an f1.0 lens or did you use a manual lens? Let me know, Jesse, just so I can give a bit more feedback. Because we can actually improve your shooting process. Okay, how did you shoot this? Did you shoot with an intervalometer or talagang hinintay mo lang yung lightning? There are generally two ways of how you can shoot lightning na hindi mo pinoproblema na hahabulin mo yung lightning. Because again, if you wait for the lightning or the thunder, okay, manual lens, not a problem. Generally, you have two ways. Number one, you use an intervalometer, or if your camera has that on board, you can use interval shooting. If you use interval shooting, of course, tuloy-tuloy lang yung shots. You don't put an interval and it just continues to take photos continuously until you end the interval shooting. And that is gonna give you basically everything, all the lightning strikes that happen within that time. An alternative, of course, is to use a lightning trigger. Where's my lightning trigger? This is the price, by the way. So let me just show you the lightning trigger. Okay, these two devices are lightning triggers. The Myops Smart Plus and the Myops Flex. And you can see na meron siyang parang bulb sa harap, but these are actually sensors. So basically, ang ginagawa niya, hinihintay niya yung strong flash of light and it starts in exposure. And you have to be in manual focus para hindi ma-delay. So there. And when you're shooting with this, you're not shooting continuously na to the point that if there aren't any lightning strikes, the camera is still shooting. This one only shoots when there is lightning. Now, you can choose either of the two processes and it will give you all the lightning strikes you want. However, basing on your settings that you since you sent me a file with the metadata, you shot this for 2 seconds, ISO 400. I would set this down to ISO 100. Also, so that you can set it to a bit of a longer exposure. You can shoot maybe 5 seconds, 7 seconds, maybe 8 seconds, and you would still get that much lightning, and it would be still, if this happened within 2 seconds, ganyan pa din yan lalabas. However, if you're shooting with a bit of a longer time, baka mas madami pang pumasok na lightning strikes. You would have a bit more, you have some more lightning strikes here, and it would look even more dynamic. You get what I'm saying? Like, if there were 2 more or 3 more lightning strikes in frame, gosh, I mean, I would have given you the top photo for this, just for that. Another way to improve is to, of course, fix your verticals. And I'm gonna show you how I do that because it's very easy. Click this icon here, or the guided upright tool, and just trace the vertical line on the leftmost, and go to the other side and trace the vertical line on the rightmost. Now, we're gonna have a problem there, of course, because magkakaroon ng ganito. This part, you can just crop that out. I don't think you lose any visual design points when you crop that out. Ang problem mo is if you crop this part out, number one, you lose the lightning that's hitting the water. Imagine, it's actually hitting the water. And you're gonna be pushing this lightning strike all the way too much to the side. But if you use Photoshop and you actually just use the magic wand, for example, you can get that, press delete, and use content aware fill. And Photoshop is actually just gonna fill that space with patches from this area to make it continue. It's not gonna, it doesn't really have to recreate anything here because this looks like it's empty space, but that's gonna work. I think I would actually want to crop it out. We are gonna lose some lighting here, but we do have a more coherent shot, a more coherent composition, because you see the 3 verticals, or maybe you can consider this the 4th vertical strike, and you know, it just looks so much more satisfying. But again, solid props for the effort in shooting this, because I know how tricky it can be to shoot lightning. Okay, second to the last. This comes from Dennis Cleto. I wasn't able to ask him for a higher resolution version of the shot, but to begin with, this actually looks okay already. This was taken at Paseo Palisok, if I'm not mistaken, and this reflection is a forced reflection. If I'm not mistaken, this is wet ground, and he was able to get the reflection, which I think is a really good move. I love the symmetry, even if the reflections are cut off here. It's okay. The lines are horizontal enough not to really cause any distraction. At least these lines I'm pertaining to. That's okay. I don't know if I would crop it like this, just so that tallest building will be in the center, but it's up to you, because I think you also want to be able to get the patches, the details or the buildings on this side. What I would do strictly is to clean up this part, because you can very easily clean that up. You can use Lightroom or Photoshop. You want to do healing, you can clean that up. Ayun, kumuha lang siya sa clouds, kuha mo na yun, because again, it is reflecting the clouds. You just want to get the rough texture of the concrete out of that patch. Now, again, guys, this is not a meticulous edit, but I am showing you just how much you can do for this shot. Because while this is reflection of the sky is blank, so this is actually negative space. So you're gonna want to take away solid visual elements on this part, unless he wants the diagonal lines there, but I don't really I'm not really fond of it. But see, if you do this with a more meticulous edit, you can actually create proper negative space and take out the clutter that was here originally, because textures matter so much, guys, and especially if you're shooting symmetry, and if you're shooting a bit of a minimalist, if you're going for a bit of a minimalist shot, then texture matters so much, because texture can be distracting. Okay, now you have to give me a bit of time, because I have to get the entries. Why am I only seeing 4? Let me check on desktop. Guys, questions, throw them in now before I go to the last image. That's not what I wanted to show you. Wait lang. Okay. I'm manually going to input the names. So I do want to make sure I get all the entries. So I'm opening my browser now. If you have questions, send them in now so that I can still answer them before announcing the winner. Pero I think the winner already has a clue because I asked for the file earlier and that person hasn't seen his entry and we're talking about one last entry. Okay. Okay, bear with me. If you have questions, send them in. I will get to them in just a bit. Why am I seeing super konti? I'm only seeing 4, literally, guys. I'm sure there's more kasi medyo nasa 20 yung nanonood. Okay, since you guys are watching, I know you guys are watching. Mention me on your post just so I get notified and I see it. Because right now, I only see Jay Mendiola, I see Ryan Bukayo, I see Angelo Rosales, and Jordan Cruz. Yun lang yung nakikita kong entries for the raffle. Again, make sure that your post is public and you have the right hashtag. Okay. Ang hirap ng Okay. Aris Belen did not use a hashtag used at. So just to be fair, hindi natin i-count yan. Okay, I'm getting mentions. I'm getting tags. Okay. Okay, this is better. I'll get to the questions in just a bit. Hindi reliable na hashtag sa Facebook talaga. Daming notifications bigla. Okay, don't worry guys, I'm gonna show the names. So, pwedeng umangal kapag di nyo nakita yung pangalan nyo. Okay, let's get to the questions. Your take on using natural light filter. I use natural light filters. I do see the benefit of them. It doesn't entirely take out the light pollution, but it reduces light pollution. If anything, I see a bit more pop in the stars. If you take a look at the YouTube video that I posted last week, if I'm not mistaken, and also the article I have this week on F-stoppers, I was talking about the HNY Starkeeper, and it really does have that effect. It's able to give a bit more pop to the shot. For cityscapes, not so much. Because I think you're overpowered already by the artificial light. Okay, how can I take advantage of a 11 to 16 millimeter for cityscapes or landscape? Remember, an ultra wide lens, it always works when you have a foreground. May misconception in using ultra wide angle lenses, that people just bring it everywhere to the point wherein kapag halimbawa nasa tuktok ka ng building, ultra wide parate, or nasa tuktok ka ng bundok, ultra wide parate. It will work if you have a foreground, but if all the visual elements you want are far away, you're better off with a zoom lens, with a standard zoom or a telephoto zoom, because wide isn't always better. Sometimes you want to get deep into a scene and isolate that. If you guys were able to check out our exhibit pieces dun sa UPLB, all those shots were taken with a telephoto, and you can see those photos also on the website. Even if the location had a very nice wide open location, on top of a hill, telephoto. So yun, take advantage of an ultra wide if you have a significant foreground. Wag din masyado kapag medyo pinipilit natin yung leading lines or your foreground and all that. For cityscapes, be wary of distortion as well, because there's nothing more satisfying than seeing a cityscape shot na upright at hindi distorted yung buildings, right? Just like this shot here. Okay, I'm not gonna extend this any further, guys. This is the shot that really stuck to me when you sent in your entries. Okay? This shot came from J. Mendiola. Why would I choose this over all the towering cityscapes? Simply because this to me had much more impact than all the bright cityscapes. There's very little we need to do to get this shot better, to make this shot better. I know for a fact this wasn't done sobrang long exposure because I see ripples in the water. I would just want to smoothen that out, just so also the texture isn't distracting. Again, if you were listening to everything I said earlier, texture matters, and that's why we do longer exposures. If you shot this at 10 seconds, I would do it at 30 seconds just to cancel out all that ripple in the water. Of course, I love the fact that there are a lot of light bursts or star bursts that we have. I don't know if this was edited to have kind of a vignette, but I would not overdo that to the point that you already lose the tops of the buildings. again, this stuck to me because of the simplicity of the shot. Really, the simplicity of the shot. Now, for those who watch my videos a lot, or those who attend my workshops, number one tip, as in no fail to guys, number one tip, if you want to clean up your shots, take out all the bright details that are near the edges. I would even take this one out. Again, rough edit lang tayo ah. You would think that it's nitpicking, but it does so much to the shot. I would even take these out. Pero wag niyong ganyanin na malalaking clone out ah. Again, rough edit lang just to show you a glimpse of what it would look like. Okay. That does so much. Now imagine if this was done with a longer exposure. And everything here is smooth, right? I don't know if, again, if a vignette was done, but I just want to have a bit more information here. Another tip you can get here is para hindi nyo sinasagad yung exposure slider or yung shadow slider at magkakaroon ng madaming noise. Just use a gradient and use the highlight slider and the white slider. Why? Para hindi nyo binabanat yung shadows. You're not extracting so much from the shadows that you're bringing out so much noise. But you're still being able to give more emphasis to the brighter parts. So we're only after the brighter parts here, which are the highlights. So you can just use highlights and whites. Again, already a very impactful shot for me. Not too much I would do. Medyo wary lang ako dun sa medyo aqua na tone. So very easily you can go to HSL. Why am I wary of that? Because medyo hinahabol niya yung orange and teal aesthetic, and we all know that complementary colors are still, well, for me, more effective. So I would go and move the slider just a tad bit to the right to veer away from teal and actually go blue. And there. That's it. Congratulations, Jay Mendiola. Congratulations. You win the K&F concept tripod and the ND1000 filter. This is actually a Meco ND1000+CPL combination filter. So you have a 10-stop ND and a CPL in one filter. Comment siya. So hindi daw siya mag long exposure vignette nag-cause yata sa pag-edit. Okay. There. So again, we're gunning for the original intent of the shot, and I think you nailed it. Sabi nga ni Sir Rames, beautiful shot. There's so much drama in it. Congratulations, Jay. Okay, to the last part, which I think mas excited pa yung mga sasali ng raffle. We go here. Okay. These are the names that I see. I'm gonna do one last check to see if there are any more tags or any more hashtags used. But next time I'm gonna come up with a better way because Facebook is not showing me everything. Okay. I have Angela Rosales, Ryan Bukayo, Jay Mendiola. alisin na natin si Jay Mendiola kasi nanalo na siya. I think that's only fair. Jordan Cruz, Rames Vasquez, John Denry Salazar, Trisha Angumba, Oliver Barceliano, Christian Kyle Tubiche. Sinong wala, mag-comment. I'm gonna check Aris Belen. I did mention this, and if you guys know, I am very strict with the rules. And I did see your post, but you did not use hashtag, Aris. You did not use a hashtag. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to be strict on this one. Hashtag, so that I can trace, when I click the hashtag, I can see your posts. You used @ there is no account that is NV Cityscapes. So I will not be able to see that. I'm sorry, I have to be strict. I have to be fair to everyone who followed the instructions. Okay? So next time, Aris. Okay. I think everyone who sent in entries are already here. Jesse. Ito na yata yung live stream na pinakamadaming dead air. Di lumalabas. Okay, sige. Okay. I see Jesse's post. Tianko pala. Tianko. Tama ba? Yes, Tianko. Aris next time. Sorry. I have to be strict. Okay. Okay. Just one tap. That's... Sige na. Anticlimactic pa. Up. Up, up, up. Okay, Oliver Barceliano, you have 2 minutes to comment anything. Kahit mag-keyboard smash ka lang. Comment now. Just so we all know you're watching. It's 9:40 on my clock, so you have until 9:42. Maiksi lang yung delay. Nakikita ko din yung delay. We only have about 5 seconds of delay. Oliver. There we go. There we go. So, Oliver wins the HUION H610X. Okay? Jay and Oliver, send me a message. You're both my Facebook friends anyway. Send me a message on Facebook of your Lala Move pin and your contact number. Alright? Thank you very much, guys, for joining me. Again, this is my first time doing anything substantial live on YouTube. And thanks for the support. Thank you for watching the stream. I hope to be able to do some more in the near future. I think I'll be doing a bit more. Of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do click that subscribe button. And do me a favor, click that notification bell so that when I go live or when I post new videos, you get notified. Okay? Thank you very much. As I've always been saying, it's been a struggle to survive on YouTube, but we're getting close to the goal that I set for first half of the year of 2022. And that's all thanks to everyone who share the videos, who watch the videos, who comment on the videos. And when you're feeling generous, of course, please share the channel and share the videos, especially if you like them. And comment if you want, if you have any requests on for videos, for topics and all that. Comment them on the posts or on the videos. Kahit ano, my channel, I want it to be as open to you guys as possible. And my camera just died, but I think you're still hearing my audio, so I'm switching batteries. Give me 2 seconds. Ayun, ba yan, nahihirapan ako ipasok yung battery. Okay. There we go. Yun, thank you for everyone who watches, for those who share the videos, those who share the articles. I appreciate you guys. As in, swear, I appreciate you guys. And that's the only reason I want to keep doing all these giveaways and all that. Thank you guys. Ano pa ba? Sabihin ko. Yun, as I said earlier, let's strive to be kind and strive to live without spreading hate and live without spreading lies. Yun. Thanks to the 20 to 23 people who stuck the entire time. As in, I wanted this to be a 1-hour session, but ang dami ko palang pwedeng sabihin with just 17 photos to critique. Yan, again, congratulations to Jay Mendiola, congratulations to Oliver Barceliano. I will send you your prizes as soon as I can because I have them on hand anyway. Thank you to all of you guys who are still watching and still commenting. Sabi ni Jordan Cruz, ibalik ang Budol Friday. I can't promise on Budol Friday. However, I think you were able to catch the last stream. I will be doing more live streams. We do have some scheduled, hindi pa scheduled, but we do have some lined up. Meaning me and Jiggy Alejandrino. And we're doing some live streams for MQ Lighting, for Nanlight, which is of course what lights up my home studio. You'll be seeing more live videos. Hindi ko lang ma-promise yung katulad nung dati na every Friday, but definitely more. Jay Mendiola says, dami ko natutunan, more power. Thank you so much, brother. Thank you so much. And hope to meet you in person soon. A few announcements pala. Regarding Sony, I will be having workshops with Sony very soon. One will be at SM Mall of Asia. I will post the details. SM Mall of Asia, Sony Center. And another one will be at a DMCI location. So, DMCI roof deck. So, if you want to be able to shoot similar stuff to a lot of what you saw in this critique, which were taken at a DMCI vantage point, keep your eyes peeled because Sony will be bringing, I think, more than 20 people atop a DMCI location. So I will be doing a workshop, a live shoot, probably even a critique there. A guided shoot, definitely. So, keep your eyes peeled. Kanina pa ako nabubulol. Keep your eyes peeled on that. And of course, follow me on the social media platforms. para updated kayo. Okay? I do want to see as much of you guys who joined me tonight there at that workshop. At those workshops. Those are 2 workshops actually. Hindi naman sa gusto ko kayong budulin na mag-Sony, pero malay nyo. Lalo ka na, Mr. Raymond Vasquez. Alright. Thank you guys. Thank you for joining me tonight for an hour and 45 minutes. Gosh. Thank you. Stay safe pa din. Vote wisely on May 9. I hope you guys are voting. And I hope you are voting coming from a good place. A good place. Good night, guys.